everybody. I hope you can hear me. Hold on, I'm just going to make it a little louder. There we go. So, before I go live, just a little sidebar note. I'm wearing my new liquid eyeliner that I got in my FabFitFun box, and I'm just like noticing that it smudges a lot more, which I find interesting and annoying in this heat. So maybe it's only a winter makeup thing, even though it came in my summer box. Maybe I just don't do makeup. Those are all possibilities. I am trying something out, and that did not work at all. I've got my headphones because I'm sitting outside and there are kids playing in my neighbor's yard. There could be her kids. And so I don't know if anybody can hear me. So let's try this. Esther, can you just let me know if you can hear me? I'm not sure. I'm using a different set of headphones. Or Rivka, just send me a wave or something. Let me know you can hear me. I guess you would tell me if you couldn't. So I'm just going to start. So what I posted this morning is being brave and being courageous. And I wanted to talk about fear. So I pulled up a quote from Eleanor Roosevelt because she says it so eloquently and so profoundly. And I'm just going to read it from my computer screen, which is right next to me, because I don't know by heart. You gain strength, courage, and confidence by every experience in which you really stop to look fear in the face. You must do the thing which you cannot do. So crazy important. And interestingly enough, I don't know where it starts. I don't know at what age it starts. I don't know at what point in our life this concept of fearing fear begins. But we come to this place of being afraid. And that if we're afraid, it must be a bad thing. If we're afraid if something scares us. I remember always thinking like, oh my gosh, if my stomach is turning, it must mean this is not good. And then years later, I want to say I heard this maybe a year or 2 years ago. I was listening to somebody speak, and she said that when you hear Deborah Asher, actually from Century 21, and she said that when you are doing something that scares you, and when you feel those butterflies in your stomach, that's not a bad thing. She's like, that's your body prepares itself for flight versus fight, right? Like, if it thinks it's in trouble, it's gonna fight it or flight it or run away or meet it head on. So when you're feeling those butterflies in your stomach, that's not a bad thing. That's just that's just your body's reaction to feeling nervous about something amazing that's about to happen. You know what, guys? I'm taking these phones off. They're annoying me. So anyway, that happens sometimes, right? So what happens is that the fight or flight reaction, the fight or the fear, the uncertainty, the what's happening, where am I going, that comes whenever we start something new. Now, honestly, yeah, there are real fears in life. Give me a real fear. Like, yes, if you touch fire, you will get burnt. So we have a fear of touching fire. Or like taking a pan out of the oven with our own hands because we don't want to get burnt. That's a real fear, real concern. An irrational fear is something we can't control. Now, again, some of those, I'm not going into irrational fears. I'm not, going to cover that right now. But again, that's, I guess, more where we have all these irrational fears. We are afraid we're afraid of failing. We're afraid of success, surprisingly enough. People out there are afraid of being successful. Me too. I have my moments where I get scared. What does it mean if I'm going to be successful? How is that going to impact? And we're going to get into that later, the fear of social. Like, if I'm somewhere and I put my foot in my mouth, I've done that a bajillion times. I don't know about you guys. I have definitely put my foot in my mouth a bajillion times. where you say something and later on you're like, wow, I sounded like the worst person ever, the creep, the inept person, the stupid person, the lack of intelligence. We all have these moments. Fear of being unhappy forever, right? We all have things that we struggle with, and we're afraid that this struggle is going to be the be all and end all for the rest of our lives. It's never going to change. It's never going to get better. And that's what it is. And we fear the decisions. Should I do this? Should I do that? I'm in a crossroad. Should I start a new business? Should I work on myself? Should I change? You want to hear something? People are afraid to do things, right? Many of us are, because we're afraid of what other people are going to say, and we're afraid of what other people are going to think. I do this. We all do this to some level. And it's something I struggle in. It's something I work on. I used to say, I don't care what anybody says. Especially as a teenager, I used to say that all the time. I don't care what anybody says. But it's not true, because I do care. I actively care, or I used to a lot more, the way I looked, my appearance. I used to do this thing where anybody would walk into my house and the house had to be perfect. And the food had to be ready perfectly. And everything just had to be in its place. Not a hair out of space. Yeah, that's not my life anymore. It's not realistic. It's not real. And I've also learned for myself that I realize that because I make myself crazy and in turn make my family crazy, I try to not often host people that I feel are going to be judging me for that. Judging that certain things are not up to certain level of standards for them. But again, most of the time that's on me feeling judged, not anybody actually judging me. So we have so many fears that control every step of our lives, every space that we go into, everything that we do. People fear that they're going to lose their friends. You know what? I've been doing this for a year and a half. I have lost some friends. I have. But then I realized friends that didn't support that this was us getting healthy and that we needed to do this to get our lives on track. And that I have something greater. You see, I enjoy watching comedians. And there's a comedian that I enjoy. His name is Jim Gaffigan. However, sometimes he makes me sad because I'm like, you are going to die. Like, he talks about it openly, about how he's going to die from diabetes or a heart attack or a stroke because of the way that he eats. And for Asaf and I, and for a lot of our family that we've helped get healthy, we're changing that. We're changing that pattern. We're changing those behaviors. And we've had some friends who are like, oh, you're not going to really come out to eat. And we do sometimes. But we're like, can we do other stuff, not just food related? Or they were like giving me a hard time about my food choices or how. And it was like, in the beginning, there's this fear factor. I'm going to lose friends. It happens. Right? It does. And sometimes it totally sucks. And it's not easy to deal with. But we put ourselves in this bubble. And we think that all my fears, I'm going to put myself in this bubble and I'm going to protect myself from my fears. And if I just stay right where I am right now, if I can just hold on to this space, nothing's going to happen, and none of my fears are going to be confounded, and I'm not going to lay credence to any of my fears. And you know what? This is my safe spot. This is my safe place. This is my, okay, we can do this. Right? So how do we go, right? So take all those flutters in your belly. I want you to take them and I want you to get excited. And every time you're afraid of something, reach out to somebody, share that I'm afraid moment. Share that I'm concerned, I'm nervous. I'm going to say this, other than Asaf and my mentors who are insanely incredible, amazing, I also have 2 really close friends who I know I can reach out to about everything, that I'm going through in my life. And I'm very lucky to have them. And they know that I feel that way. But I can take all those fears that I'm feeling and then just go with them. And yes, having that support system really, 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 really helps. In whatever way you can get that support system, it's so, 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 so important. Because when you have fears and we put ourselves in the bubble, what ends up stopping our dreams, our goals, our visions? When we are brave enough to face our fears up front and say, this is what I'm scared of. This is what I'm afraid of. Whether it's I'm not going to ever be good enough, or whether it's can I or will I, or anything in our life that we're so afraid of, right? Then rotate that wheel and let's focus on your dreams. Let's focus on what is it that you really want. Because the fear is just holding you back from something so amazing and so incredible in your life. What did Eleanor say? You gain strength and courage and confidence by facing those fears. Brene Brown, somebody that I'm really into right now, I'm reading her book, Daring Greatly. And so she talks about other things. One of her big thing, she's a shame researcher, and she talks a lot about being vulnerable. And I've started practicing that with my husband. Do not be vulnerable to the cashier in Walmart unless she's your best friend. Okay? Be vulnerable with somebody you can trust. Be vulnerable within a safe space of people that are going to encourage you and love on you. But when you get over that fear of being vulnerable, and you're vulnerable with your spouse or partner, right? In whatever space you're in, and wherever you are at in life, if you are going to be in that space of vulnerability, you can get over some of the fears. Because as you start to dig deeper, you can see what's really happening, what's really going on, what's at the crux of my fear. I did an incredible EFT, which is emotional freedom tapping technique. Emotional freedom technique, which is basically a tapping while you're working on yourself. And I did something amazing with it. And I went somewhere and I realized something so powerful. I'm not going to share that here because it's not important. But the point is that the more vulnerable you're willing to be, the more you face your fears, the more deeper you can go, the more incredible you can become. And then, I shared this about having A, B, and C dreams, right? A-level dreams are dreams that are right here. They're right here. You can get to them. You know exactly what you need to do. It's probably even a month away. Not difficult dreams to get to. B-level goals are something that, hey, maybe 6 months, maybe a year. You can see the dream. You can see the goal. You can actually vision it. And you can actually vision getting there. And then C-level goals are the goals that you're like, okay, how the heck is that ever going to happen? How the heck am I ever going to be able to do that, right? So the deeper you can go into yourself, the more you can go, okay, fear, I recognize it, whether it's irrational or rational. We're not going to go there now. This is a fear I'm facing. I'm going to get vulnerable with myself, and I'm going to dig and dig and dig. And the further that I'm going to dig, the more that's going to come to the surface. And the more that's going to come to the surface, the better I'm going to be able to be. And that C-level goal, that goal, whatever it is in your life, whatever is the thing that you want so badly, but you can't even picture it ever happening, is something that all of a sudden becomes attainable. And it's not always, and one of the things that I've learned about dreams and goals, they don't always happen the way we think they're going to happen. If you had told me 9 years ago, before I got married, Zelda, you would consider adoption because you're struggling to have a baby? I would have said, you're funny. I always was open to adoption. It's something that Sav and I have spoken about for over 8 years. I was like, if the situation ever came up, would we do it? And the situation did come up. We were living in a 1-bedroom in Brooklyn. So at that point, it wasn't even feasible. I couldn't do anything with it, right? But if you had told me this is where my life is going to head and that I'm not going to be popping out as many kids as I thought I would have laughed or been really sad. But right now, it's not always about where it's at. It's not always about how it's at. It's more about it's going to happen. Some way or another, that dream, that goal, that dream that you're visioning is going to become a reality. No question. The question is, okay, backtracking for a second, the question is, are you willing to do the grit? Are you willing to really dig deep, to really look at your fear in the face and say, kick ass, whatever it is that you need to say to get past that fear, to get through that fear, to get over that fear, to overcome it? Because that's when the greatness happens. And it's not a magic pill, and it's not a one-stop shop, and it's not any of that. It's this amazing space where if you would have told me that a year and a half later, I would be doing a live video on my Facebook feed about fear, I would have been like, you're funny. Like, what the heck? But I am, because it's been a year and a half of so much growth, a year and a half of so much positive change. And it doesn't end and it doesn't stop. It's just that keep looking and keep digging, because at the end of it, I have my goals and I have my dreams. And I have my own personal ones. I have ones for me and my family. Not expectations, goals and dreams. And I have them for our businesses. Because that's at the end of the day. The dreams and the goals is really where we want to be. And just recognizing the fears that are stopping us. Because that's really what it's about. And just embracing it. And embrace it. And be kind to yourself. And be generous. And be gracious. And give yourself the love that you need to get there. And the time. It might not take a day. It might not take a minute. It might take a year. It might take 2. It might take 3. But as long as you're doing the work and putting in the effort and the grit to get there, it's going to be amazing when you're done. And it's such a freeing feeling, and it's so incredible. So I bless you all with an incredible week of conquering your fears and getting and reaching for your dreams and reaching for your goals. And if any of you would like some help reaching some of your dreams and goals, feel free to reach out to me. I'd be happy to give you a hand. Have an awesome Sunday. Happy Father's Day. Bye.